And we're back with more on NewsTalk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us on this edition of the Marc Patrone Show. And yeah, it's that time again when we love to bring in BJDichter. Benjamin, of course, is our go-to guy in all things Bitcoin related. I've had the pleasure of going on some of his Twitter spaces. They've been very well attended, very interesting. So he's doing his bit for educating people about the wonders of Bitcoin, what it is, how you get involved in it, how you maybe can see Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, and some people see it that way. Maybe you believe that the future of fiat currencies is dim, as many others say. Some people believe that gold is the way to go. Others say Bitcoin is the way to go. And so it's interesting, however, that we do see some billionaires out there, people like Charlie Munger, for instance, Warren Buffett, recently saying if they had all the Bitcoin in the world, they wouldn't know what to do with it. Let's bring in Benjamin Dichter. Benjamin, welcome once again.
What were the names of those two old cranky guys from the Muppets? I mean, I think that was foreshadowing.
They had names. Did they?
No, they do have. I can't remember they were because I used to watch as a little kid. But every time I see Munger and Buffett, that's what I see, those two old guys, except far less funny and entertaining.
Well, I think, and I mentioned this just before our interview, that I think they're getting payback for being slagged during Bitcoin Miami. To your point, maybe they didn't even know they were being slagged. But let's listen a little bit to what Warren Buffett had to say. This was at the shareholder meeting recently in Omaha. And basically somebody asked him about Bitcoin again. I don't know why people keep asking him. Presumably it's the reporters. And his take is, look, if you offered me all the Bitcoin in the world for $25, I wouldn't take it. Let's listen.
To answer any questions on the subject, but I will. There's all kinds of people watching this that are long Bitcoin, and there's nobody that's short, and nobody wants their windpipe stepped on. I don't blame them. I don't like people to step on my windpipe. But I would say this, that if the people in this room owned all of the farmland in the United States, and you offered,
I think Bill Gates does,
me a 1% interest in it.
Oh, I'm falling asleep.
And you said for a 1% interest in all the farmland in the United States.
Love you. They always got to argue from analogy because they have no idea what they're talking about.
They are a group.
Come on, Warren. You can get it.
You make it.
Come on, Warren.
Hey, it says bargain price.
It's like George Soros. You always got to put him on 2 times speed to understand what he's talking about.
This afternoon.
Here he is.
Billion. Now I own 1% of the farmland. If you tell me you own 1% of the apartment houses in the United States.
Okay, come on.
And you offer me,
I'm going to be as old as him by the time he's finished.
1% interest.
You know what? He's been watching too many Joe Biden news conferences.
And you want whatever it may be.
Oh, poor Warren. Poor Warren, who's single-handedly destroyed Canada's oil sector, but that's another issue.
Or something.
Yeah, but he's made billions on the railroad.
It's very
simple. Yeah, and that's how he destroyed Canada's oil sand sector. So he's not our friend.
All of the Bitcoin.
Here it is.
In the world.
I think he's getting to the point.
And you offered it to me for $25. I wouldn't take it because what would I do with it? I have to sell it back to you one way or another. I mean, they are the same people, but it isn't going to do anything. The apartments are going to produce rental, and the farms are going to produce food. Mm-hmm. And if I've got all the Bitcoin, I'm back where whatever his name was, who may or may not have existed, was 15 years ago. If I've got it all, he could create a mystery about it. But everybody knows what I'm like. I mean, so if I'm trying to get rid of it, people will say, well, why should I buy some Bitcoin from you? I mean, why don't you call it Buffett coin? Make your own or something. What? Do something. But I'm not going to give you anything for it. And you'd be right, incidentally. But
all right, so there you go. If you were to give Warren Buffett all the Bitcoin in the world for $25, he wouldn't bother taking it.
So here's Warren Buffett's investment advice. If you could buy $1 trillion for $25, don't take it. What a putz. I mean, look, he's great with railroads and certain sectors of an industry, that he's done very well in. There's no question. But he missed Amazon. He missed Google. He missed Apple. He missed everything. Everything
Well,
in technology.
He finally got to Apple. He did get to Apple eventually when he realized.
Well, last year. So, from 9.
We lost your audio, my friend. Let's see. Let's bring you back.
There you are. You here?
Okay. Yeah, there you are. Okay. Yeah, I lost your audio there. I lost
into okay, so, 2022. Right
but,
on.
You know, look, but there are going to be people who watch Warren Buffett, because Warren Buffett is worth whatever he is, 50 or 60 or $70 billion, and say, well, he's incredibly wealthy, one of the wealthiest men of the world, and he thinks Bitcoin is worthless. So why shouldn't I listen to him?
You know, there's a disease that some people have that they think automatically the wealthiest person in the room is the smartest person in the room. And those people end up having no money because they listen to people like Warren Buffett talk about things they have no clue about.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't understand that Bitcoin is a store of money, just like dollars is. So it's like saying, you know, do you want, $1 trillion? I mean, in the minds of some, they might say, well, but I think the dollar is worthless, so why would I bother? You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't get the idea of Bitcoin is money.
You know what? The problem is, I would ask Warren Buffett, what is it about a decentralized proof of work protocol that you don't understand? And you know what the problem is? He doesn't even understand the question. So why is anybody asking him the answers to things he doesn't even understand the question? That's not his wheelhouse.
Because he's rich, because he's wealthy, I suppose.
No, okay. So there you go. The smartest guy in the room is the wealthiest guy. All right. Next.
All right. So we got to talk as well a little bit, Benjamin, about Bitcoin scams. I mean, these are inevitable. And so if you're on YouTube.
Oh, why? Wait. Why would there be a scam if it has no value? Right? Warren Buffett. People are running Bitcoin scams. Why would they do it? Just tell them, for all the Bitcoin in the world, the $1 trillion, you wouldn't pay $25 for it. Why are people running scams?
Here's your tweet. To anyone new to Bitcoin, this video is a scam. Okay, so it's no longer available. This is done by groups trying to con you out of your Bitcoin. It's funny. Unlike COVID, I don't see any disinformation warnings from YouTube. So problem being, I guess, is that YouTube lets these things go forever, just like they do Taliban videos on Twitter. You can be a Taliban member and have not be booted off Twitter, whereas Trump was. So tell us about these scams. What should people be aware of?
Well, it's so pervasive, and this is what's so frustrating about people who wanted to just engage in the COVID conversation. It's so persuasive that these scams have been going on for years, to the point where I've seen YouTubers who talk about Bitcoin between their commercials. You know, you kind of line up your commercials if you have monetization, and they come back and they say, the video you just saw, the commercial you just saw is a scam. And they were right, because there's so many of them. They are these videos. Is a warning to everybody new to Bitcoin. When you see, what they'll do is they'll cut a video of Elon Musk or the Vitalik Buterin, the guy from Ethereum, a whole bunch of them. Anybody who's, has a personality online associated with tech in some way, has them having a conversation, a video of them having an interview and a conversation that's pre-recorded from months, sometimes years ago, about something completely unrelated. And then next to it, there's a list saying, send us 1 Bitcoin, we'll send you 3 Bitcoin back. Or send us, 250,000 Satoshis and we'll send you back a full Bitcoin. It's a scam. It's completely a scam. This is when people say, oh, Bitcoin was hacked. No, Bitcoin is not hacked if you willingly and sometimes unknowingly give it to a scammer thinking you're going to double or triple your money. So just be aware, any video like this, anything, it is a scam, and all you're doing is giving away your money to a criminal.
Okay, so like any other store of value. There's going to be scams.
Mhm.
Getting back to Warren Buffett, Elon Musk has come out and mocked legendary investor Warren Buffett's attack on Bitcoin as the price slides. So we have seen a pullback in the price. You don't normally like to talk about the ebbs and flows of the price of Bitcoin, but it did fall, along with the market in general. Anyway, he's saying that it signals further dodgy coin support. Okay, so the story is that billionaire Elon Musk is mocking Warren Buffett after the Berkshire Hathaway CEO again attacked Bitcoin twice in a week, where Bitcoin Jesus returned to the public sphere and named his top contenders for the title of the world's dominant cryptocurrency. Okay, so what's going on here? It's the battle of the billionaires between, I guess, Musk and Warren Buffett.
I think it's Elon Musk saying exactly what I just said previously, that Warren Buffett has no clue what he's talking about. It's kind of like if I was going to ask Warren Buffett here, I'm doing what Warren Buffett does, explaining everything by analogy, right? But if I asked, Warren Buffett, did he prefer the T400 or the T420 transmission when General Motors had them in production? He'd have no clue what I'm talking about. So why people keep going to this guy and ask him about something he knows absolutely nothing about and has zero interest, which he should if he was a good investor, but okay, fine. Like if I had shares in Berkshire Hathaway, I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Warren Buffett and his right-hand, this is the story in Forbes, Warren Buffett and his right-hand man, Berkshire Hathaway's vice chair, Charlie Munger, both used the company's annual shareholder meeting on the weekend to repeat their well-known derision of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But it seems like every time something comes out about this, Musk is like Johnny on the spot. And I guess he's got Twitter now. He owns Twitter. Did you want to weigh in on any of that? Either Musk on Bitcoin or on Twitter?
Yeah, well, I mean, back to what I was saying before first, that remember, as the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, both him and Munger have missed an asset that's increased in value by over 9 million% in 13 years. That's a problem. That's a problem if you're, a seasoned investor. He could be a multi-trillionaire many times over if he had listened to some of the advice he got about Bitcoin, even back in 2010, 2011, but he didn't. Right? Because he doesn't want to know. So, okay, fine. In terms of Twitter, I think it's absolutely fabulous. What we're going to see is, and we're already starting to see, I don't know if you know, but before Musk took over Twitter, when the offer was submitted, the board of Twitter blocked out their staff from the Twitter servers to prevent sabotage. And there seems to already be a shift in what's happened on the Twitter platform in terms of, a commitment to free speech, less censorship, getting rid of the bots. So, Justin Trudeau and Jerry Butts are going to have a problem because a lot of their Twitter propaganda, I don't know if you know, it's pushed by bot farms that they run a script. And, when somebody they don't like or is on the list posts something, then there's, 200 or 300 comments that respond saying, nobody likes you, you suck, you're terrible. That's done by bot farms, automated bots that people like, or groups like the Liberal Party contract out to Twitter to actually produce that sort of propaganda to influence the readers against whoever is posting. So that is now done. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen to these conversations about the extremist leftists, the COVID narrative, all this stuff that the corporate media has been reporting because they think that's the prevailing narrative that most people have accepted. And we've seen through the various protests that it appears that the vast majority of people are dead set against the newest policy from the Fourth Reich of Justin Trudeau and Jerry Butts and Omar Al-Gabua, where you cannot get on a plane if you're unvaccinated for the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. And then people, it's interesting to see some of the media types saying, well, what are these protesters on about? I don't understand. The
Yeah.
shaking the head. What is their problem?
Investigative journalists, they are not. Yes.
I mean, I saw somebody at CTV post that. What is it with these people? What are they
Which is
crying
why
about?
I banned them from our press conferences,
And why
exactly for
you were
reasons like that.
smart. Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned Twitter. Twitter's $17 million per year censorship czar could get the axe under Musk. I would hope so. So she is Victoria Gada or something, who broke down in tears last week during a news conference,
So good.
in which they were discussing Elon Musk's purchase of the company. While she should be crying, she's going to be out of a job. Although if she's been getting paid 17 million, I think she's going to get probably a pretty sweet golden parachute. She stands to lose her job, which paid her 17 million last year. I can't believe this person gets paid that much money, as Musk is reportedly planning to cut jobs and executive pay as part of the takeover. Oh my gosh, I would love to be there when he gives her walking papers, because I've been shadow banned, I've been ghost banned for years. That's why I don't have that many followers. Because my reach has been radically and drastically cut back because of scumbags like this. So yeah, I can't wait for Musk to take over and start throwing people out of the building. I don't know. What say you?
Well, I mean, if you watch the interview with her, Tim Pool, and Joe Rogan, along with Jack Dorsey, you can see she was the one who controlled the Ministry of Truth within Twitter. And she is a maniac. I think she's mentally ill. And she's a lawyer, by the way. She's a maniac lawyer who's mentally ill, and she wouldn't be the first one. So the fact that she broke down in tears is delicious. It's beautiful. You broke down in tears because Elon Musk, like the center of centrist guys, like he's not left wing or right wing. He's just a practical objectivist guy. He just believes in objective truth.
Yeah.
And whatever. And he's doubled down and said, I want a commitment to free speech on Twitter. And that maniac broke down in tears. Like, okay, I think she deserves, you know what she needs more than a parachute? She needs a straitjacket.
Well, it'd be great to see. A lot of these people are maniacs, though. And I think it seems like Elon has particularly sharpened his attacks on the far left more so than he thinks. He came out not that long ago and said, the far left hates everybody, including themselves. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically his position. And so he seems to be sharpening his attacks against the far left because they're the ones who are attacking him more often. But it seems he's got so much poise. Like, I mean, when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went after him, I mean, his response was, stop flirting with me. I'm pretty shy. I mean, he was just mocking these people. He acts like he's the richest guy in the world because maybe he is, maybe that's why his view is you can't hurt me. Nothing you do bugs me. I will laugh at you. I will mock you. He is the perfect guy that you want in the sphere supporting free speech, even as psychopaths come out and say, well, it's only white males who are pushing for free speech. Well, screw you. What a sexist, racist thing to say. Here's Panama poised to approve the use of Bitcoin and 8 other cryptos without limitation. Benjamin, so here we go. Lawmakers in Panama, the Latin American country with a reputation as a tax haven, have approved a bill that would regulate the use of Bitcoin and 8 other cryptocurrencies and approve their use for paying taxes and for private transactions. So that's another development. That just in the last few days.
Well, if I was a football player, this is the point where I would.
Lost your audio there, Benjamin. You have cut out. Yeah, there you are. Okay, you're back. Go ahead.
So back to my explanation. If I was a football player at this point, I would spike the ball in the end zone, do a little dance, and say, "I told you so." And there's 2 more countries to come online this year. They're doing it a little bit differently than El Salvador. They don't have the same restriction, if we can use that term, as El Salvador. I mean, I don't like using restriction so much in this context, but in El Salvador, it is legal tender by law. So if you're a merchant, you have to legally accept it. This allows a little bit more in terms of this more libertarian philosophy of if merchants want to accept it, they can, they don't have to. I believe banks also will have the option. And the bigger thing is Panama. I was in a Twitter Spaces with one of the congressmen who was putting this forward in Panama. And Panama is interesting for a number of reasons. If you've ever been there, it's kind of, I look at it as that hybrid between the United States and Latin America. It's very similar to Miami. But the other thing is Panama, because of the canal, has 1/3 of the global transport industry goes through, or the global shipping industry, sorry, goes through the Panama Canal. Well, so what's going to happen if the government or the various ports or the various companies that operate in the Panama Canal, or the pilot companies or whatever, say, yeah, we will accept payment in Bitcoin, in addition to if you want to use US dollars because they're dollarized, well, technically not, but they are, and various other currencies, we'll also accept Bitcoin. How long do you think it's going to take before Bitcoin takes over the Panama Canal? I see it being something that happens very, very quickly, just because of the ease of use.
Right. A copy of the draft bill, just reading the story in Fortuna.com. A copy of the draft bill, and it's available on social media, says that citizens, banks, and legal entities in Panama would be permitted to use several cryptocurrencies as a means of payment without limitation. And those were Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Litecoin, XDC Network, Elrond, Stellar, IOTA, and Algorand. The currencies would be accepted as payment in both civil and commercial capacities, that according to the bill. I don't know, do you like the fact that so many currencies will be sharing the spotlight along with Bitcoin? I know that you're a Bitcoin guy, but here it is, Litecoin. I've not even heard some of these. Elrond, IOTA. I mean, are these?
Yeah, I've heard of all of them. I'm familiar.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all of them. This is where my friends in the Bitcoin space would start referring to them as, well, let's call them clown coins. And I understand that. The reason I focus on Bitcoin is I just, for simplicity, you can't understand, we'll call them the.
Okay, Benjamin has frozen once again, and so obviously our connection with Benjamin is not the best today. But I'm hoping that he will come back shortly, and it looks like he's moving again. Are you back, Benjamin? Have we got your audio?
Yeah. Okay. It didn't cut out.
Okay, good.
So I think it's important that people learn Bitcoin and focus on Bitcoin, because that is the reserve currency of the internet in the future. The other casino coins, I personally would stay away from. They want to accept it. I'm sure there is a bunch of backroom deals or reasons for that. What can you do? This is the free market, but I do think I'm not terribly worried about it, because I think Bitcoin, we all understand, is the reserve currency. And also the various layers of Bitcoin versus, Bitcoin versus Lightning Network, which is off-chain Bitcoin, we'll talk about one day when it gets more advanced. But I don't think it's terribly relevant either way. The fact is that Panama has now come on board as the next country to say, hey, Bitcoin is a legitimate currency, Warren Buffett, and we're going to allow it for transactional purposes in our country and in important places like the ports along the Panama Canal.
All right, so I'd like to ask you about what you think of Pierre Poilievre's move now, because he has now pledged to audit the Bank of Canada and ban its state-backed digital currency. So you have warned about CBDCs in the past, these central bank digital currencies, and there's been a lot of talk in Canada about establishing one, as there has been in many other countries. Polyev says, no, we're not going down that road. What are your thoughts?
I think it's great, and I think he needs to make a commitment that they will pass a bill, or if he has already, great for him, that they will pass a bill permanently banning that sort of egregious tracking of Canadian citizens, which is what it is. And it's the equivalent of, you imagine you got a couple $100 in dollars in your wallet, under your chest, under your bed, wherever, all over the place. The government will see everything and every transaction that you do. And that is the opposite direction of where we need to go in terms of a liberal and free society. So I'm glad to hear him do that. I do know some of the people very closely around him who have been, and we like to say, orange pilling Pierre, but educating Pierre into what Bitcoin is and how it all works. And I'm glad to hear he's been so receptive, and it's quite refreshing and a little bit shocking coming out of the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party is not known as being the most innovative. And it's nice to see finally, as many people like myself have been telling them for years, screaming at the rooftops, give something new to people, inspire them, show them the future. And I guess Pierre is going down that path as well. So it's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. But he is triggering some of the lefties. I mean, surprise, surprise.
Even better. Even better. That's an addition. That's a feature.
I mean, you had to figure that that was going to happen. And sure enough, the Globe and Mail is not impressed. But, you know, good. So they've stopped at nothing to attack him every chance they get. He did.
And there's my boy Andrew Lawton and True North, which is an excellent source. If you want to get away from fake news, watch and listen to True North and Andrew Lawton.
So let's listen to Pierre Poilievre talking to Andrew on True North.
Canada the freest place on earth. So my view is let's just tell it like it is. That's my plan. That's my purpose. And that's why I'm running.
When you look at the Conservative Party's trajectory, specifically since 2015, that was when you went from having a majority government under Stephen Harper to Justin Trudeau winning with a majority, and then you go to the subsequent elections since then. Where do you feel is the benefit that you're going to bring and you can bring to the party as leader that will correct what's happened in those last 3 elections?
Well, I'm going to win the election on the issue of cost of living. The Canadian people feel like they've lost control of their lives. And the reason is that the average Canadian can't choose where they live anymore, because the typical house costs $836,000, meaning you have 32-year-old men and women living in their parents' basement, or permanently renters paying someone else's mortgage. They can't choose where they eat or what they eat anymore because of food price inflation.
Okay, so there it is. I mean, he's smartly, I think, going after the bread and butter issues, but involved in that is Bitcoin. And I think it's going to be interesting and challenging for him to explain why it's relevant in the lives of Canadians, that they look at alternate forms of currency. And the fact that he's going down that road, and also warning Canadians about the centralization and the government control of people's lives, were it to adopt the CBDCs, these currencies. So I think, you know, it's going to take some explaining, right? And in a world where people's attention span is, you know, about the length of the average Cocker Spaniel, it may take a little bit of work, but he's doing it. You know, he's succeeded, and everywhere he goes, Benjamin, he's getting these massive crowds, including right in the belly of the beast in Toronto. So good for him for doing this. I tip my hat off to him.
Yeah, I think, you know, I saw this amazing meme that came up on one of my feeds recently in the past few days. And this is the sort of thing people need. I wish I had it here. I would give it to you. I'll try to find it for next time. But it had the average house price measured in Bitcoin over the past 10 years. And, you know, when it started off as something like $1 million, and then it was 10,000, and then it was, you know, 6,000. And now this is one particular guy who's talking about his house price. And now his house can be measured in, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 Bitcoin, something to that, maybe a little bit more. And that's what visually explains to people who don't understand what a deflationary asset is. That's what really hits him. So he's doing that equivalent, I guess, but from, you know, the pulpit of a politician, which has some struggles. I did see him out west. I caught just a minute or two of something of a speech he gave. No, I think this is in Toronto, actually. And he mentioned Bitcoin, and there's still, you know, a very small number of boos. And I'm like, oh my God, what, you don't like freedom? Like, what is wrong with you? But, you know, they just don't understand it yet. I get that. And, you know, but they were what's it called? They were overwhelmed by the number of applause for Bitcoin that weighed in shortly after. So people are starting to get it. And, you know, politics is downstream from culture. And as the financial culture has changed around the world, you're going to see our politicians change as well.
All right. All right. So before I wrap things up, do you want to talk about what you're working on and maybe direct some of your supporters to either content that you're producing? I know that you're on Substack now. Go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug.
Yeah, check out my Substack, which is bjdichter.substack.com, which is essentially a blog. Today we posted a blog from Jeffrey Wernick. Jeffrey is somebody who I've gotten to know pretty well. We're working together on a project related to freedom and the freedom movement. Jeffrey invested in a whole bunch of stuff: Parler, Rumble, Uber, you name it. He's been a big person involved behind the scenes of it. Very close with Dan Bongino, who is a wonderful guy, by the way. Probably the nicest guy.
You met Dan?
I've spoken to him. Very, very nice. You follow me on Twitter, BJDichter. I'm doing another, you know, we're doing these spaces on Sunday nights, usually around 8 o'clock. And Mark, as you know, you've been attending and speaking and reaching out to people, and they love you. You know, people really,
thank you.
You're resonating. So they're Getter, BJDichter, all over the place. And just follow Honking for Freedom on Twitter as well, because there is going to be more to come in the near future.
All right. Oh, any final word about Rolling Thunder? You want to weigh in on that real quick? 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I was a supporter of it. I'm a supporter of anything that's going to go after Prime Minister blackface diversity and show that he's Canada's Hugo Chavez. It was the police again overreacted. The guy in Ottawa has no clue what he's doing and knows nothing about history or the term just following orders. They had a wonderful ceremony with a bunch of vets yesterday. You can watch them online. There are some amazing speeches about freedom and sovereignty and individualism and all that the sorts of things that they fought for. And of course, the fake news media didn't cover any of it. But that's to be expected, and that's another reason there's no reason to pay attention to them. Follow the National Telegraph, True North. There's a whole bunch of other publications out there that still believe in objective truth.
And the Marc Patrone Show. Thank you.
And the Marc Patrone Show, of course. And your Substack.
And my Substack, exactly. Benjamin Dichter coming to us from the free state of Florida. And really appreciate you coming on the show once again, Dan.
Always my pleasure.
All right, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Got to take a break, brief commercial break. Back with more on NewsTalk Saga 960 and the Marc Patrone Show after this.